His dad don't even like him. You could not pay that man enough money to sit in this man's corner. Now that's an accomplishment, Chris. That's an accomplishment. Well done. The most unlikable geezer on the planet. Even your dad don't like him.
How many eggs did you have to eat to fail those two drugs tests? You dirty little omelette.
You've tasted defeat. You've been rendered unconscious before. You was eating the canvas, literally.
I'm gonna beat him because I'm a better fighter than
But you're not.
in every single part.
You're not.
The feud goes on.
Welcome to Chris Eubank Jr versus Conor Benn, The Prediction, where we hear the opinions of the biggest names across the talkSPORT network. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we've got Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr.
Wow.
Huge fight, man. And talk to me about it.
Well, that's a good fight, and it's been talked about a long time. And not only that, the fathers have fought each other. They don't get on. So if this is like, it's like generational history between the guys. So this is where the best man's gonna win. And I think both fighters, it's not like one. They both at the peaking, in my opinion. They both are strong. So I think the winner of that fight will cement their legacy. Yeah. Which family was the better fighters?
It's mad, isn't it, when you go like that and you go like, you know, rewind 30 years and you got Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank Sr. and the dislike between them two, the family rivalry between them two, and the kids have both picked it up. Did you ever think that we'd get Conor Benn, who was obviously a welterweight, Chris Eubank Jr., who boxes high as super middle, come down to middle? Did you ever think we'd get it?
No, I never thought that would ever happen because, you can see the size difference. But then obviously with Conor developing and getting stronger, getting bigger, filling out a little bit more, and then obviously with Eubank coming down, he has to dehydrate himself to get down. So they met in the middle. So yeah, respect to both fighters for one going up and one coming down. But I think it's going to be an epic fight. What a fight it's going to be. But I don't know who to pick. The thing is, look, Conor is he's a tough fighter. You can't take your eye off Conor. He's got that power. He's got the explosiveness. But then again, if he hits Eubank with the same shot, is Eubank going to go back? Is he going to step back? Is he going to go down? I don't know. I don't think so. So I think skill might win the fight. So I don't know, I might lean more towards, it's a hard one because last time I was saying Conor Benn, but I think now, thinking about the fight and now it's more realistic that it's going to happen, I do lean more towards Eubank because I think skill will win this fight.
And what do you make of the rehydration clause? Because I've been quite vocal about it. There's a rehydration clause, but it's £10. Now, that's the IBF rules, and £10, Chris Eubank Jr. boxes at 160 anyway, so I don't see it being a big problem. What do you make of that? Does that change your mind?
Yeah, you know what? Every fighter says it's a normal thing. I'm only £10 in anyway. I come light into the fight. That's not true. No, seriously, Eubank.
I know that, mate.
Eubank you as a fighter as well.
Yeah.
Eubank must come in at least 15, 20 pounds. So he's going to hold that down.
What weight would you put on from weigh-in to when you box, when you got in the ring? How much would you put on?
So, £10. I'm joking. You know what? I put on about 13, 14. In the last fight, I put on about 13 as well. 13, 14, about a stone really, you know, you put on. And that's a big difference really. But then, but some fighters can go up like crazy. Like when I fought against Canelo, I remember weighed in at 155 and then went up to 186. 189 or something.
Crazy.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Who do you pick then? Come on, give us a winner. Who do you think wins that fight? Benn and Eubank.
Benn and Eubank. I like both guys. So last time I said Benn, this time I'm going to say Eubank.
April the 26th, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. You know about this fight. Yeah. Conor Benn jumping up a couple of weight divisions. How do you see that one, by the way?
Man, I don't know. So Conor Benn is very explosive. He looks like he hits pretty hard. Eubank, I've stood next to him, and he's pretty big. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like you said, maybe the weight could matter. You know, so I don't know, man. But that's a very interesting fight, and I would can't wait to watch that one too. Maybe I'll be in town.
Listen, yeah, that would be great if you were. Would you entertain possibly the winner if Conor Benn does come through that? He's boxing at a similar sort of weight to you. Is that a fight that you could see down the line at some point?
Anyone that they've offered me, I said yes. So why not?
You're just one of them old school throwbacks, right? You're just like anybody, anytime.
Conor always trains like a machine, a beast. I've never seen anyone train as hard. He switched it up a level here. Like, there is so much, he's got so much anger, so much like history riding on this training camp, riding on this fight. You know, I was just doing another interview with Coogan and IFL. They actually interviewed Chris Eubank's father today, who was saying the fight shouldn't be happening because Conor Benn is coming up 2 weight classes. And no one's even really talking about that. People are talking about the narrative of Chris Eubank Jr. coming down in weight. It's not. 160 is his natural weight. His last 5 fights have been there. Conor Benn is leaping up 2 divisions from 147 to fight a much bigger man. And that's what makes it a 50-50 fight, because I think all round, Conor's the better fighter. But it's a dangerous fight, and I just see Conor Benn knocking him out inside 6 rounds. I just think he's punching so hard. All his sparring's been with Saras, William Skull, who's fighting Canelo Alvarez, Denzel Bentley, the middleweight. Like, he is ready to unload, and this event is going to be wild.
What about the forthcoming fight, Nath, Conor Benn against Eubank? Do you see this as it's a weird one, isn't it, with the weight divisions? How do you see it going?
Really, Ben shouldn't get anywhere near him, to be honest, in terms of like the side. But then that's where all this controversy is coming more recently in terms of rehydration clauses and all this kind of stuff. But the IBF have that anyway. But I don't think they're fighting for an IBF world title, so that's a totally different thing, to be honest. But yeah, it's one of them. It just depends how drained Eubank is obviously to make weight, and then obviously the rehydration. It's okay when you're making weight, but it's the part afterwards when you refuel and rehydrate. That's where the performance gains or declines will happen. And if he's not allowed to rehydrate correctly, then it's going to fall into Ben.
Saturday, April the 26th. What's happening then? It's a massive night, isn't it? At the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium here in London, North London. Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. Chris Eubank Jr., you're a man. You're his promoter. Short time ago, Spencer said right here in this studio, if Eubank Jr. loses that, it's career over. Do you see it that way?
He won't lose. He can't lose. He could fight Conor Benn 100 times, I believe, and beat him 100 times. I think it's a great fight. It's a great fight for the casual fans. It's a great fight for the sports fans. It's a massive event. But Chris Eubank Jr. for me is a world-class boxer. Conor Benn isn't, and hasn't proven himself to be so. It's a huge test for Conor. I think Chris is going to do a demolition job, and I have to agree with Spencer. I think if from where Chris has been, if he was remarkably to be beaten on this night, it's very difficult to see what happens. But for me, this is a foregone conclusion, a demolition job. It's a huge event, and what an opportunity for Chris Eubank Jr. to box at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, to have the whole of British sport and British entertainment watching him on a night like this. The history, the tradition, the 2 fights that the father's had, and now he gets to have the trilogy this many years later. And yeah, I can't see anything other than a demolition job for Chris Eubank Jr.
A demolition job, Ben. Eubank Jr. against Ben. This man's not having it. You're still not having it.
No, I'm not. No, I can't be inconsistent. I can't be dishonest and a hypocrite. I've said from the outset that I didn't like the fight. I felt it was a fight built upon other people's legacies. I understand what it's turned into. I understand the furore and the interest, and I understand the point that Eddie Hearn's making. If you ask Frank Warren what he thinks of it, he doesn't think much of it. People might say that's because he's not involved in it. But I would like to see Conor Benn fighting at 147 and winning a world title in that weight class. And I'd like Eubank, who I think is a brilliant showman and a great raconteur, fighting for a world title at 160 or 168. Not this situation, but each to their own. I don't know, where are you on it?
Well, where are you on it?
Well, it's going to be a massive event, but I mean, I agree with some of the stuff you're saying. I would like to see Eubank fight and win a world title at 147. I would like to see, Conor Benn. I would like to see Eubank stay at, I think 160's hurting him now. I would like to see him fight at 168. But the appeal of this fight is massive. It's something that I mean, it's even got my attention. Like, and I see myself as a boxing purist, but I can't wait. I can't wait for fight week. I think there's going to be chaos. And then I can't wait for the fight.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, surely that is it. It absolutely typifies what the fight game's all about.
Bringing eyes to the sport. That's what you want to do all the time. And I mean, there'll be these two fighters may or may not never ever win a world title, but the numbers that's going to happen and be created around this fight are going to be absolutely incredible.
There's nobody better to ask. How will it play out on the night?
I want to see what Chris Eubank looks like on the scales. I think that his last few fights have been at 160, but he has fought at 168. I think as you get older, rather than coming down the weight, you should be going up the way. You know, it's harder for your metabolism. Your metabolism slows down. It's harder for you to make the weight. I want to have a look at him. I think the weight's hurting him now, and this rehydration clause, I think, also hurts him. Now, people are saying 10 pounds is a lot to be putting on in a day, but for the IBF, when I was IBF champion, I had the same rehydration clause, so the day of the fight I could only be from 122 pounds, I could only weigh 132 pounds, and it hurt me. I used to go to bed at 11.5 pounds over, dry out 1.5 pounds and weigh in 132 bang on. So I had it down to a fine art. It's going to be very difficult for Chris Eubank.
It's huge, Jim. Listen, I'm the biggest fan of both the fathers. Take away the personality, whatever. I'm of that era that idolised these two fighters, that wanted to be like them, and I understand and get it. Now, I'm friends with Conor. I've known him a long time. Just before he got into professional boxing, he's a lovely young man. He's a lovely kid. I'm not the greatest fan of Chris Eubank Jr., but I tell you what, I admire the control the boy has over things. I must admit, I mean, the boy's in such control when it comes to press conferences. He's playing it like he's the orchestra, and he's the guy at the front. He's playing them all.
He's conducting
and he's doing exactly what he wants when he wants. But like I said before, this fight is astronomical. It's huge. I genuinely end up thinking it'll be one of the biggest fights to ever take place in this country.
Where does the loser go, Tony, after it?
Oh, well, I think, if I'm being brutally honest, there's only pride to lose for Conor Benn. I mean, for Chris Eubank Jr., he's got everything to lose. If he gets beat or knocked out off a welterweight and he's a middleweight / super middleweight, then he is going to be in a world of trouble. It really is. It really is. But like I said before, it's egos, it's pride at stake, it's family names, and I mean, ultimately, let's all just be brutally honest. This is happening because of the money is astronomical.
Yeah. Are you surprised, Tony, that Eubank Jr. hasn't become a world champion before now?
Which world champion would he beat, Jim?
He's got the point. Is he world level?
Which world champion would he beat, Jim? He's faced 2 or 3 and he's been spanked on every occasion. And, you know, listen, these two, let's be brutally honest, these two had the opportunity to face for a world title. Conor could have fought Barrios and Eubank Jr. could have fought Lara. And if the clever people around them have just gone to them, listen, hey, hold your jets here. This is ridiculous. Why do you want to go and fight for a world title? And you could get beat, you could lose, get beat up, really bad, when you could face each other. And let me tell you, them world titles will still be there after they've faced each other, depending on how they lose, to be honest. I mean, like I said, there's so much more to lose for Eubank Jr. than there is for Conor. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that the only reason Eubank Jr. will win is because of size, because it's not. This is a fight, in my opinion, of 2 halves. The first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds. If he is able to absorb what Conor Benn is able to dish out for 6 rounds, the fight then turns in his favour. Because the second 6, that's when size does come into play. That's when I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. is the best boxer. I actually think he's a better fighter than he is a boxer. Technically, he's not very good. I don't know where he gets off on thinking he's the second coming of Roy Jones Jr. because he's not. And as for Conor, he knows what he is. He goes in and he lets his hands go. And he's reckless and he's wild and he can be explosive and dynamic. All of them things he's going to need in this fight, Chris Eubank Jr. And he's going to need a little bit more as well. He's going to have to be rough, rugged, and he's not going to be able to stop and let up. I think his only chance is winning in the first 6 rounds, if I'm being totally honest. And I think Eubank really comes into play after 6 rounds. I think that's when, if he can wear him down and get rid of him.
The fight is, at the moment, is an entertaining spectacle. The fight itself is a mismatch. You know, the build-up has been a mismatch. You know, and
is that because Chris is too big? Do you think?
I don't think it's necessarily well. You know, it's obviously the size at a different weight class. You know, in boxing there's different weight classes, and you fight your weight. And Chris is, as well as being bigger, has fought at a much higher level. So, you know, in terms of being at 147 pounds, you know, I'm the contender at 147 pounds. You know, I have the IBF Intercontinental Championship, and if Conor is a 147 pound fighter, then that is the fight, regardless of the names, the entertainment, the spectacle. But you know, Chris is obviously, you know, the fight goes ahead on April 26th. Chris, you know, annihilates him, and after that he'll rebuild, and I'm sure that the real fight at 147 pounds will take place.
Are you being caught up in all this? Because there's a lot of hype, a lot of nonsense going on it.
It's entertaining, isn't it? So
is it?
I do like watching it. Who do I think is going to win the fight? Yeah. I genuinely don't know. I feel like Conor Benn wants it more. He said, I don't even care about the belts. I just want to fight Eubank. I want to knock him out, X, Y, Z. So like, I feel like Conor's got that heart there, and obviously the explosiveness, and I just think Eubank, he's got that experience. Do you get what I mean? He's been around the block. And the natural size. He's lost 3 times. People don't know how much a loss can actually change a fighter. So I generally don't know, and I guess this is what makes the fights good, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you were forced into answering as to which one you think most likely to win, where would you put your money?
I'll put my money on Eubank because he's more experienced and he's obviously bigger. But like I said, I'm very 50-50 on this one.
Francis?
Conor Benn.
Conor Benn.
Conor Benn. I think, take away the fact that I think Conor Benn's biggest win is probably Chris Eubank.
Yeah.
He stepped up to the plate on that night. Yeah, Chris Eubank has mixed it with in much better company and given, you know, higher weights, and you've got that argument. But I just think that Conor Benn, he looks ferocious. He looks like he wants it more, and I think the age factor will come into it. And I'm not sure Eubank. Well, I don't think Eubank will be able to keep up with him in the first 3-4 rounds of the fight, and I think it'll be an early night.
Yeah, I've had the same. As far as I've been in interest in this fight since the outset, I've always felt that Conor Benn was the likely winner.
Spencer was fighting in the day at featherweight and said, "You know what? I fancy my chances against the lightweight champion or light welterweight champion. I'll take him on." Well, you want to take him on, you take him, but you don't say I'll take you on, but you've got to be this way or not that way. That hydration clause, and they're saying Conor Benn walks around this. Well, what are you putting a hydration clause in Eubank Jr. for? I don't like that. No. If you want to beat the man, we'll beat him at his best, not hydrated. And there's nothing to suggest, and this is nothing against Conor, he's coming around, there's nothing to suggest Conor can deliver, because no one's seen him in a title fight at Southern, English, British, European. They haven't, and looking at his last performance in America or 2 that he had while this was going, there was nothing to suggest you could beat Eubank Jr. Now you look at Eubank Jr.'s resume, yes, he's 35, 36, but he was in the World Boxing Super Series against George Groves, a big super minute. He went to Turkey and knocked out Yildirim. Then he ragdolled James DeGale round the ring. He's got that experience, and when he's motivated and focused, we've seen what he did to Liam Smith. I think Eubank Jr. just think he's too big, hits too strong, and that's it.
When you look at Eubank Jr. as a fighter, what comes to mind with you in terms of what he's done, what he could have done, and what he will do?
I've got probably a little bit more of insight because I've sparred him. I've been in England, I've sparred him a fair few nights.
Have you?
Yeah, and only over a week period he come up to Jimmy, sparred with myself, he sparred with my brother Liam. That's where the story from the spar with Liam came about Liam Ayton. He was in Manchester. He didn't speak much. Personally, you know, I bumped into him in an airport after he boxed Liam in Dubai, gave him a hug, shook his hand, we both spoke, we laughed, we were on the same flight. It was nice to see him, there was respect there, but that's where it starts and ends really. but boxing-wise, he's not bad. And when he was younger, he was better. I think now, I watched Liam distraught after his fight when he lost to him, and Liam was saying he's finished, and I've just made him look absolutely great, and it sickened Liam. I know it did, because he knows he can beat him, and I don't think that Eubank, compared to what he had when he was fighting the likes of Billy Joe Saunders and George Groves, and I don't think he has that left anymore personally in him, and whether he's got the desire.
He's technically better though, isn't he?
He's technically probably. I don't know.
Than when he fought Billy Joe Saunders.
He should be. He should have improved from that loss. And Billy Joe Saunders was a very good fighter.
He was indeed.
He should have improved from that fight. He should have learned a lot from that fight. But you only learn and improve if you want to learn and improve. And I don't know whether he actually wants to, or whether he wants to just cash in, make as much money as he can, which he's making a very healthy amount on this fight, and then go and live the life that he wants to live. But as a fighter, he's a good fighter. He's awkward. He's a good fighter. I don't think he's a good boxer, if you know what I mean. He's good at putting his head on your chest and fighting, and he can do that. I'd like to see more of that from him, especially in this fight. I hope he doesn't get on the back foot and try and box in this fight. I hope he tries to meet him head on.
Who do you think wins the fight?
I think Eubank should win, and should win relatively well. But as I say, stranger things happen in boxing, and it just depends on whether he really has got much left or not, Eubank, in my opinion.
Looking forward to this one. Are you?
Always. Anytime, any Eubank, any Benn fight now, we have to look forward to it.
Listen, there's a lot of history goes on between the two and the families, the rivalries with Nigel Benn, and Chris Eubank Sr. You never boxed any of them two. Why not?
Well, to be frank and honest, and I'm not tooting my horn, but James Toney got on television and kind of silenced both of them.
Yeah.
Nigel did say something back, but it wasn't really relevant. You know what I mean? They didn't really sound like they were biting at the chumps to fight James. So they were a little bit reluctant about fighting James, you could tell, right? When I whooped James, if we were reluctant to fight James, why would we fight him? He made him look like nothing. Right. So, of course, it wasn't going to be easy to make that fight with either one of them. And even with Steve Collins. Now, later in my career, Steve Collins came to the U.S. to try to make a fight, but him and Marab and Fred never verked it out. So, but I was always willing to fight anybody. I didn't care. So I would have fought any of them, anytime, anywhere.
Any of you lot that haven't seen it, Roy Jones Jr. versus James Toney, go and see it, give him a whooping, man. Performance of your career, I would probably say. That was unreal, man. You had some brilliant ones, but that was sensational.
The only reason I would say that one was sensational is because of who James was at the time. Yeah. James was pound for pound, the baddest dude throwing around, throwing down, whooping people everywhere, any kind of way, inside, outside the ring. He didn't care.
Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn go at it on the 26th of April. Interesting fight this. Conor Benn coming up in weight. You've done that, Roy. You've gone through the weights before. Is it possible that Conor could beat Chris at this stage of his career? You've trained Chris, you know Chris. How do you see that one going?
Very tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it, because one big left hook could change anything. But to me, his best chance are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be really pretty rough for him, because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And like, even the stuff he's doing now, he's going to continue to get better. But I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter. So he's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull out the upset that one time. So I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's going to be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantages because he's bigger, but it's going to be a great fight.
You know what, a lot of people are talking about it, Roy, you know about cutting weight and whatnot. A lot of people are talking about Chris Eubank Jr. now being at 160 and maybe being tight at that weight now, but the rehydration clause, £10, I'm saying, listen, with a £10 rehydration clause in it, that won't affect him at all.
That won't affect him at all, but I don't really think Chris was big on rehydrating anyway, so I don't think he's going to get that big, you know what I mean? He might, but I don't think 10 pounds bothers him at all.
Those were all the predictions ahead of a huge night at Tottenham Stadium.